good comments and a lot of good information. So today I just want to go over a comment I got that talked about the Stasi, and I've gotten a few about the Stasi, and I looked into it, and it was really interesting to me because I wouldn't have known any of this. It's like as things are happening to me and they're trying to pretend that it was in my head at first, then they're having confrontation. So they were arguing this morning whether I can say I ever had the police called on me. I can say no, I didn't. And their argument is that, part of this is that I wasn't supposed to catch how this was done. And with the bus incident, when I finally realized the woman was reacting in such a strange way, but didn't call the police, no one else in the bus, like the bus was quiet. Nobody else in the bus reacted. And when she stepped on my mother's foot and leaned over my mother, and my mother was like, ow, and, trying to get her out of her face, the people in the bus looked like they were, what's going on? That wasn't a normal reaction. So something was weird. So by the time I got my cell phone out to take the video, the woman who she was talking to pointed in my direction. She said, because I took a video. And I was wondering, like, why would that bother her if she claimed I hit her? Why would you be bothered by a video? You would just call the police right away. So in a video that they said I hit her, obviously I didn't hit her because she would have told the police that, and she didn't. And when I told the police, she falsely accused me of hitting her. She was like, no, I just want her to delete the video, which is also weird. So when the people talking were like, the reason it was done that way is because they didn't want you to have proof that this was a setup. It's supposed to be in my head, which I still can't understand. I don't understand how things that actually happen would be in my head. So in the video, when I said I said, if she called the police when I hit her, meaning like if hypothetically, then that would be something else. But to call the police after the video is strange. So my point becomes, look, why would you not call the police if you claim I hit you, but you would call the police when I get a video of you and the woman points out she took a video of you? Because it wasn't supposed to be real. Now I get it. It took me so long to understand. It was supposed to be me hearing voices, going mentally ill. So clearly I didn't hit her. So when they're going over my videos and they say, well, why can't they just say something like, why can't I say I misspoke? Well, why would I use the word if I misspoke? So part of this is like, if I'm in the middle of saying something and they interrupt, I'm supposed to be able to keep up with what they're saying and make it sound the way they want it to sound. But also when they are interrupting me, when I said the word if, meaning if, not that I did, that to me implies it's not real. It did not happen. So I said, if she would have called the police when I hit her, I think that was how I phrased it. Her and she called the police, that would have been one thing. To not call the police and her reaction to everything, and then when I take a video, so action when she found that I took the video was even more suspicious. The whole thing was suspicious, but that was really suspicious. And that's when they said that I can't say no and call the police on me. Yes, I can, because to call the police, and this is the argument, to call the police on someone is not, I'm going to falsely accuse you of something. Then when you defend yourself and I overreact, again, this is hypothetical. Every time I say something, they're like, oh, you just said no, hypothetical. And then and that person overreacts to something, and then I start to get suspicious and take a video of her. Then she calls the police because she doesn't want the video, but doesn't mention the false accusation that I hit her. Then I forgot to say, before the police came, she starts to apologize and says, I'm a poor woman. All of a sudden it starts to dawn on her that you're going to lie to the police, and there are videos on the buses. So in all of that, she never mentioned me hitting her, ever. I mentioned it. She wanted to leave the situation alone. Even the police said, no, it's not a big deal. But I said, I want an incident report for this. So the reason why this is a big deal for me is that I can still say I didn't have the police called on me, because I didn't. I ended up calling the police, and the police responded to my call. And this is partly what I'm saying, that what happened? What happened that caused all this? So as I'm going through the streets and they say, well, nobody's really coming up to you and saying anything. Of course not. Why would anyone come up to me and say anything? So that as I'm interacting, they said, well, this was wrong, that was wrong. Weren't they the ones who said I had positive interactions? They said they were connected to all of these different things I was connected to. So suddenly, after they come around, I suddenly can't interact with people. How did that happen? How did I lose the ability to interact with people like a normal person? And that's part of, they just knocked. And that's part of what I'm saying. A big part of this is that they are admitting, without even, the whole system admits that I didn't have these problems years ago until they came into my life and did something to me. So they falsely accused me because in 2022, I said, I'm not suicidal, I'm not homicidal, of needing them to bring me back. So why did it start before then? Meaning, what is the mystery that's going on? The only thing that starts to make sense is that they did the wrong thing. They got caught doing the wrong thing. And it just went from there. There's nothing wrong with how I interact with people. They said I used to be very shy around people. Then they have me yelling at people, meaning, okay, what part of that makes sense? I'm shy around people 1 minute, then I'm yelling at them. That doesn't. So what really does make sense is that they were criminals. They got caught up in their crime. So they said, by putting all my business out there publicly, then every criminal can get me. Exactly. But most of the criminals are connected to them, so it would still go to them. They said they are going to do this a smarter way. They'll have me lose everything instead of stealing everything from me. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's very interesting. The goal would be for me to move, have no place to live, so become homeless. So they would have stolen the apartment, put something someplace, and I lose it because I forget it, or I don't have access to it anymore. Try to find new housing and I can't. So it would just be, instead of for me to have it stolen that one way, to me it's stealing either way. It would be stolen a different way, and they could blame me for it. Which goes back to this whole thing. When I came into the apartment, they said, we have no sympathy for you. We could just they hired a team. Again, who hires a team that could just do this all day, every day? So they were upset now. Before, they wanted me to go over the videos. And I said that in many videos, that they said they want me to keep going over the videos and watching. And they said, I send a video, I wouldn't watch myself like this. If I go over, it's because I want to go back and rewatch a certain thing and look at what I said, or what I quoted them as saying, or what the story was for that day. And they said, well, when I'm like this, or just when you're comfortable and you're watching, they're like, well, see, you said you wouldn't do that. Well, it's not the same. I was more meaning that body language is I'm into it. No, I'm not. I'm referencing it for something. So that's how they are. So it's it would be like that. It would be going back and forth with, oh, here's a criticism, there's a criticism. So they said that is supposed to be the little voice in your head, meaning I still don't get it, that the little voice in people's heads that criticize them is what they create. But it's not the little voice in my head if you're hitting me with something and I'm developing a physical symptom because of it. Then it's not the little voice in my head, is it? It's you punishing me for discovering that you provided the little voice in people's heads, which is what they said was the big discovery. The idea that when people heard little voices or they heard something, they thought it was where is it coming from? And it's coming from these people, but also the illnesses come from them. It changes everything. So the other big point about this is that going back to my videos. So if I'm like home and I'm watching a video like this, they think that means I'm into it. No, it just means it's a comfortable way of watching the video. The other thing is they said that what happened today that they were criticizing. Oh, I think they were criticizing. Oh, they said that they thought years ago I was afraid of big black women. I thought they said I was afraid of transsexuals. So suddenly I'm afraid of transsexuals. Maybe it's the transsexuals or the big black women. I don't know, but they came up with this whole weird personality assessment, not based on my life experience, but based on how they feel. I'm not afraid of transsexuals. I'm not afraid of big black women either. I'm not afraid of black men, meaning this is supposed to be what the little voice in my head is thinking. Why would the little voice in my head think those things? It's so like, who thinks that? The other big deal about this is then they said, well, they said the videos that I recorded with their stories, now they seem like stupid. Like it doesn't seem like a big deal. It didn't feel like a big deal at the time, but in their minds, they thought I did think it was a big deal. So when they're saying, oh, it seems stupid now, like it seems like they're making a bigger deal about things than they actually were, which is what I've been saying all along. I wondered why they felt that way, and I'm going to do a little personality assessment on them. Once I said who's involved, suddenly it's like, oh, if this had been the little voice in my head and no one knows who's involved, it would have been, these are huge deals. But as soon as you start to say, well, that person is referencing something from 20 years ago, that person wasn't there. That person is talking about something that happened 30 years ago. That wasn't a big deal. Maybe it's a big deal today, but it wasn't a big deal 30 years ago. That person is referencing something that happened when I was in third grade and I was like 7 years old. I'm 52. Who cares? Meaning, once you start to hear the stories and you start to put it together, the personality assessment that they wanted me to have was someone extremely vain. They said I was supposed to be a very vain person. I was supposed to be very dark-skinned, like extremely dark-skinned. I was supposed to be someone who had like some sort of like on the autistic spectrum. What else was I supposed to be? I forgot. Well, when I walk in the street, I seem to stretch my body out, like to make myself taller. Trust me, if I could have stretched my body out to make myself look taller, I wouldn't be my height. I would be like maybe 5'11" or something. I would be extremely tall if I had the ability to stretch myself out. So while I'm walking down the street, they're like, there she goes. I forgot the way they phrase it, but like I'm stretching my body out to look taller. And they said I'm supposed to be shorter, which goes back to their belief that I would be intimidated by people because I'm shorter than I am, but I'm not. So what I'm saying about their personality assessment of me is that it seems like they wanted to use what someone else feels and put it on me, get her upset. And if we just keep getting her upset, eventually we'll get what we want. And what I'm saying is that took so many years. They started this easily in 2016. They're trying to say, oh, no, it's a decade ago now. It's taken them a decade. So they're really, really upset that I did the videos where I'm cursing and I'm yelling and screaming because it doesn't look good for them. But isn't that what they wanted? Didn't they get what they wanted? And when I say that and they don't respond, they're listening, there's a part of me that remembers what they said. They said it looks they may have said something and I didn't catch it. There's a part of me that remembers what they said, that it's not supposed to be real. If I'm really upset and it's really affecting me, then it's real. Even if it's, meaning even if it's not real in the way that oh, someone's walking up to me and saying something, it's real in the sense that I'm having a real reaction. And why that makes a difference is that you can't say something didn't happen. Something clearly happened. They said for us, this isn't easy, I think. I don't know what that refers to. I think when I'm listening to what they're talking about and what they're talking about and comparing it to the Stasi tactics, it is very real. So part of the Stasi tactics and the different categories was like they call something called white torture. And it's supposed to seem like it's not real so that you think you're going through something mental, but it's very real. And one of the things about that was that it's like it's not supposed to seem like it's happening to you. But my point is that if I'm having a real reaction, then something is happening to me. I wasn't this way. And if we're talking about a decade ago is a long time. And there was nothing else happening in my life except for this. The other thing they talked about with the Stasi, and it's called Stasi Subversion, is called psychological gaslighting. So it's someone pretending that what's happening to you isn't. Then there's career interference. Again, happened to me, where they interfere with your ability to work. They sabotage you. They make sure that you are financially unstable so that affects you. The stress of that affects you. I forgot what the other thing was, but as you can see that all of those things are stressful. So you have gaslighting that's very stressful. Career interference is very stressful. White torture is very stressful. The whole program is stressful. And when you start to say, well, what could have driven me to this point? It had to be this. So when you give real names and people can say, well, I know that person. Yeah, that isn't. It's not like, I think the hard part for them is that a lot of what I do is in public. And that's partly why this had to be public for me, because it just feels like it makes sense to be public. So when I'm naming names and people are like, oh, I know what you're referring to. And they said, I was never this way. Yes, that is correct. I wasn't, but the people involved were. And they thought I would feel ashamed of saying that, but it was public. The other big deal about this is they said that for years I was supposed to hear voices. So they said for years I was hearing voices. I wasn't, but they were talking. And the reason that's a big deal is because I said they didn't say anything about this until I did. And they were like, no, people wouldn't believe us. They just admitted for years I was supposed to be hearing voices. So that's the next thing I'm going to comment on, which is that you sat quiet as people suffered for years. They said this happened at least 30 years ago, 1996. And you said nothing. They said the reason why it was important for them to say something now was that they got caught. And also once, once this was public and their voices were out loud, someone tricked them. I'm glad that person tricked them, because, once other people started talking about it and you saw that a lot of people are homeless, a lot of people had other issues develop. I had issues develop. They don't like when I use that word, but that to me is a really strong word, but it's a necessary word. The reason why it's issues is because it becomes you're going through something. And for me to say I'm having issues is to say I'm going through something, and that it's not just a one little small thing, it's multiple things. And for me to say that feels natural. It also feels natural when I see someone else and I know someone else is going through issues to say that. I think I didn't grow up with the idea that if you're going through a hard time, you don't talk about it. They said, oh, when I was little, again, I'm 52. They're stuck in like a time warp where I can't get stuck. Partly I wasn't in a position where I would want to get stuck. So they were like, well, years ago when I was a little girl, I would hold things in. Most kids do because we don't have a way of expressing things. But you grow up. When you're a kid and something is going on, you don't have a way of expressing it. You're a kid. So why are we comparing 52-year-old me to, like, I don't know what age they're referring to, but a child me? So I think it's very natural to say, I'm going through something, I'm having these issues, this is up for others. I've read articles where people gave their experience and it seemed like it was difficult for them also. I think if we're going to start to try to clean something up, we're not going to clean up this. The other issue I wanted to talk about, and this is why I'm saying, like, the word issue to them is very strong. It's like, I don't know what it would be equivalent to them, but it seems like a very strong thing. But if you think about it, the word issues, we hear it all the time. So I don't know why the word issue is so strong for them. Whereas I don't know how they would phrase it if not issue, because it's something we all use, like, okay, the next issue is. So the next issue I want to talk about is that when they're saying, like, oh, they didn't want to make this public so that they can kind of have me alone. Well, it wouldn't be alone if you brought in all these people. That once they started bringing in all of these other people, they're not alone with me. So they said, oh, this is boring. Well, what would they like to say to make it more interesting? Again, you can tell that isn't my mind. I mean, I'm talking about having issues. Oh, that's boring. That's my point. That's who they are. And every time I point that out to them, it's like their brains freeze. And then it's like goes right back to the word issues. Well, what about my life is so boring that you would want to spend all this time doing this? What about my feelings is so boring that you don't want to discuss it? What about my issues is so just like nobody cares about it, yet you would spend all this time putting me under constant surveillance? Okay, what about that? And that's partly what I'm saying. They don't make any sense. I'm too boring for you to talk about me, but you spend millions of dollars surveilling me for a decade. They said, well, what they were doing was fixing my behavior. You mean the same behavior that you said was a great attitude? The same behavior was, I'm the best friend I could be. Thank you so much for your help. The same behavior was that you couldn't picture yourself sitting on a porch with anyone else looking at your grandchildren. Where is the problem? The problem was when I was like, absolutely not with these people. So they said this is a pedophile ring. So let's get into that part. That's another big issue. When they started talking all this disgusting, like, child molestation stuff, I was like, what is this? And then when the incident happened in the elevator, it confirmed it. There's someone in this building who is attracting this. So they said there's someone who brings in young men at night to take showers, homeless young men. Why? What happened? Something fell apart. You weren't talking to me about this all my life. So when they said that a lot of the people who they researched are pedophiles, when did they become pedophiles? They weren't pedophiles when I knew them. So we're talking about people from like 30, 40 years ago. They said something, I forgot what they said. When did they become pedophiles? Once you put them in this program? I don't know. I am trying to get to the bottom of this. So they said a lot of how the people become pedophiles is because they start like modeling agencies or something like that. Again, why are you talking to me about this? If this is how you're going to spend my time and energy, I don't want to have anything to do with it. So they said, well, they thought I would be the best person for these people. What? You go to someone who's having her own issues and you put her in touch with pedophiles? You sound like crazy people. But here's where I come in, not them. They're full of it. This was a way of gangs talking. Someone left that in a comment and it makes the most sense. People who can't use regular phone service, internet service to communicate use these types of secret systems. And while they're surveilling me and all these other horrible things are happening in the building, well, they know, okay, well, I won't know what's going on until it goes on the news. But they know, and they allow it to happen. So I heard a woman's voice about, I forgot what she said, but she said something. And what I'm saying is this: if this is a secret surveillance system and bad things happen to people they target, it's a criminal organization. If they are pedophiles, and I heard them talking about pedophilia, but you don't have to listen to me about it. Read the news. It happened in the building. Then it's no longer in my head. So going back to what I said originally with the Stasi white torture, the technique of making something seem like it's not real. It's no longer that if it actually happens. So the moment I get a police report against someone, it's no longer in my head. The moment they're raping children and molesting children, if they kick in the door or try to kick in the door, it's no longer in my head. So there are too many things that really happen that other people can say, oh yeah, I see. Yeah, that happened. For it to be in my head. The last point I want to make is when I'm going over the documents and they're like, well, you don't have to show any more documents, but someone's like, yeah, show more documents. I don't think, at first I thought it was, they were saying like, oh, this is what we would like you to do versus this is what we don't like you to do, or we wouldn't like you to do. I now think it's something bigger. It's more like if we can keep playing this mind game of do this, do this, do this, don't do this, it'll keep me they just said so wrapped up in them. Exactly. So they're trying to say that my new effect, this is how they speak, my new effect is I'm kind of more laid back, or maybe like my speech is slurred or slower. Yeah, I'm disabled. I mean, this isn't working. This isn't working for them. Now we're going to make fun of me being disabled after they caused me to be disabled. So that makes me boring. Oh, I'm boring. I'm talking about being disabled again. And this is part of what I'm telling this. They call themselves a crew. You don't look good. You really don't. You look like bad people. No matter how much you hate me and how much I could be the worst person in the world, the way you treat me is a reflection on you. It's not a reflection on me. So, guys, I'm going to end this live. I think I've spoken, about this issue now. You guys know for years. I appreciate your comments. Thank you for the people who came into the live. If you guys have questions, feel free to, leave questions. As you guys can tell, I'm not feeling great, but I really want to keep this issue going and let the world know this is happening to people. I also want, you guys to know that if you're going through this, you're not going through it alone. I'm going through it. There are so many people talking about this now. And the more we talk about it, the easier it will be for the next people who go through it. Thank you for watching.